Hi everyone, this is Kathy Homeyer and logging on to Nourishing Your Multidimensional Body. And today we are going to talk about, are your symptoms Ascension symptoms or are they ancient biocodes? And we do replays now, so this will be replay. I've been doing these shows for about a year now, over a year now actually. So when I change times, we'll have a little celebration. Mondays at 6 p.m. will be the new show. Hello, chiming in. So today we're doing Nourishing Your Multidimensional Body and Understanding Symptoms. Are they Ascension symptoms or are they your ancient biocodes? And if you have any symptoms that you want to take a look at, I may get to them during the show, or I'll give you some info in the chat after the show. So even after the show, assuming I see them and catch them. Hey Judy, hi Nancy. Hello, hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. If you are on the replay or I don't get to mini readings, you can type your symptoms into the chat. I'm going to explain them, and I'm not sure if they're, if you haven't heard of the ancient biocodes, which I love to call them because they really are, then put your symptoms in the chat if you would like me to take a look at them. Hopefully I'll get to them during the show. If not, I will do it after the show or shortly after today. And take a look if they are Ascension symptoms or ancient biocodes. Okay, so what do I mean by all this? If you haven't heard, everybody's pretty much heard of Ascension symptoms, right? And I kind of ponder them. I go, really? Are we really, so we have a full moon and a whatever, and we get smacked and everybody's feeling this. So I'm going, okay, really? Are these Ascension symptoms, or how are we being affected by the energies? And I ponder them a lot because I also know about the ancient biocodes. Now, technically, they're called German New Medicine. I love to call them the ancient biocodes. And they are actually programs, literal programs. We're a computer, right? And I'm glad you mentioned the matrix because, right, we are really a hologram. We have programs that we can add and subtract. That's a totally another show, show and series actually, right? So we have software programs, and we have the most ancient, because animals have them too, are ancient biocodes. They are, Dr. Hammer found them, I think in the, how long has he been? Maybe 30 or 40 years ago. He discovered them, and he was a doctor, a medical doctor. So he actually mapped these ancient biocodes by CAT scan and organ, and they are 100% not. It's not anything that has, well, maybe it's this and there's an exception to that. He's actually documented these, and I will put information in the chat to interviews I've done with Andy Lockmears. We are actually having a retreat in April. To all you Akashic Academy folks, will be offering a virtual link to, but we really want you to come. And we are having a retreat to discuss ancient biocodes, German New Medicine, take a look at symptoms, see what the shocks are. So here's the difference. Ancient Ascension symptoms, right, come from energies that come from our time and place, right, where we are, the eclipses, the solar flares, the energies that are coming in from different places, right, all sorts of different things. The Ascension symptoms, you go, oh, we're all having, I know my family's all having headaches. I think I saw in the chat here, kids all have sore throats. So, yeah, we get affected, and we all seem to be affected at different times, and it doesn't make sense either. But what the ancient biocodes are, because your Ascension symptoms, if you either, get frightened, a fear, and I'll explain in a minute, if you get frightened, your Ascension symptoms can actually ping the ancient biocodes, right? The Ascension symptoms are something where we are upgrading ourselves, and we have to go through this upgrade process, and it's not always easy, right? the ancient biocodes were something that were put there in our, I'm gonna just put it this way, in our animal state to keep us safe. Yet now that we are, you know, an evolved human, they run and sometimes don't stop. So you it either turns into cell growth or cell loss, and a little bit difference in between. But they're very interesting. And again, in the comments, I'll put the interviews I have with Andy that will explain this much more. But there's a difference between your Ascension symptoms and your Ancient Biocodes. I'm just going to check the chat here before I say hello. I think I can scroll this down. Hello, Nancy. Hello, Judy. Hi, Celeste. There's Brandy, Leanne. Hello, Dee. Nancy. Yeah, understand. I'm glad you mentioned the Matrix, right? Because we are, and again, another whole show and series is about the programs that we can run, that we can upgrade, that we can check. I have those programs. Some of those programs, I know some of those programs to check, to run, to upgrade, and even add subsets if you want to. Really cool stuff. Yeah, Brandy says that her kids all have sore throats. Thank you, Nancy, sharing it out. Lots of pain in connective tissue. That is another whole show, and I'll actually put the link. Anyway, can't you tell I get excited about this? Anyway, that's another whole issue with connective tissue and fascia that's really interesting. We'll take a look at that too. Thank you for starting a watch party. I haven't figured that out yet. So much Ascension symptoms, and it's like everything. Yeah. Again, the Ascension symptoms can kind of morph into the Ancient Biocodes. I call them being pinged. And the really brief thing about that is you get a shock. Ancient Biocodes are pinged by a shock that you don't expect. And it could be the Ascension energies, right? So you get a ping in your brain that corresponds to an exact organ depending on where you get the ping in your brain. I call it a ping. So you get pinged in your brain and immediately goes to the corresponding organ, and these are totally mapped out. Really cool stuff. There is information online. It tends to be a little confusing if you don't have a little bit of background, and there's scary pictures. Like they're really far out stuff. So you don't really want to go there yet, but you can learn a lot from Andy Lockmere's and our interviews. We actually have a first session of a live retreat virtual webinar we did last weekend. And then in April, we are actually going to be doing a live retreat talking about the ancient biocodes, about German new medicine, about the symptoms and the corresponding, and helping people understand that. Again, I'll try and put as many links as I can in the chat box and in the comments, so you can take a look at that if you want, because it's really interesting. Just saying hello to, I always get to a certain point and then I can't, then I can't lose them. Yeah, different symptoms in there that I'll take a look at, hopefully. Hi, Carol. Hi, Erica. Melissa, Lee. I don't know if it's Lee or Leah. My middle name is Lee, L-E-E. And hi, Mona. Yes, skin is an interesting one in terms of an ancient biocode. Actually, they're all interesting, and they're all very definable. The one thing that we don't want to do, and probably all have the ancient biocode of the kidney program running. No, a ping is a shock, actually, but you never know how that comes in, right? It has to do with emotional. Hold on just a sec. Well, I forgot where I was. I'll continue with that one. I call it pinged. What happens is you get a shock. Now, I had one in February. I was the sickest I think I've ever been for 30 years. I mean, I don't get sick. I just push right through it. I work right through it because I have to. This put me down, and I thought, oh, man, now I know what it's like to, for the first time, I think, in my life, I was in fear of a symptom that I had not going away or not being able to handle it myself. And I was, oh my gosh, I have so many tools, but you know what? It really was humbling, because when you feel sick, when you really don't feel well, you don't feel like doing your tools. So I now have a toolbox that if someone is sick, or if I get sick again, I'm going, here's my toolbox. And that's, again, another show and another series. But so it really brought in mind to me, and it was just after the eclipse. So really, that was interesting as well. So was it all Ascension symptoms, or did I really ping a BioCode? Or did the Ascension symptoms give me enough, what I always say, put me down, made me more vulnerable to this ancient biocode that rang? And for me, I know it was an ancient biocode because ancient biocodes, it's a shock you don't expect. It could be an emotional thing that you're holding in or new. This one for me was a 10-year-old issue with my son breaking his leg and going into the ER. Now, I've had great luck with the ER around here when it was an emergency, and pretty much that's the only time we ever go see doctors or anything. So this was a 10-year-old, not 10-year-old kid, 10-year-old issue that I thought I had resolved. We were talking about it and realized it was a totally different situation. So all at once, I felt like I wasn't a good mom, like I hadn't been energetically working on the correct situation. What did they do to my baby? All these things just went poof, and I felt an emotional shock. So it started running programs like the spleen program, which is blood. We won't go into exactly what they are, but I had a major pain in my side. My lungs were railing, and both of my parents died from lung issues. That's a fear. That's a death right. Lungs are death right in terms of the ancient biocode. Spleen is blood, but what we all pretty much run these days. Hey, Kim. What we all pretty much run these days are the kidney programs. So that's what I'm going to talk a little bit during the show. Is the kidney program, which is fear-based, right? Kidney, fear, emotion. But it also runs a particular program. You get a ping in the brain, which actually you can see concentric circles. For people who know how to read a CAT scan, you actually see the concentric circles. So in terms of energy medicine, sometimes if I can identify the program, or if I can, I say whichever one is best, I try and reduce those concentric circles that ping in a program. So I gently deconstruct the pinging, basically. But it also relates to an organ. So sometimes in our energy work, we're working on the organ or the issue where we're not, if it's a biocode, we're not working also on the place in the brain that had kind of started that in the first place. So again, an ancient biocode is a shock that you don't expect. And all of us could take a shock differently. If two of us are standing together and see an animal hit in the road, and let's say the animal's fine, but one of us could really freak out and go into this like, oh my God, is he okay, blah, 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 and we'd really freak out. That might be one program, like the fear program, or a stomach program, any kind of programs. And there's about, I want to say about 25 identified programs, but they also can get can kind of lodge together, and they're called constellations. But anyway, one of us could see that and go, oh my gosh, and get totally upset and start pinging a biocode and get all these symptoms because of that, including, I forget what skin issues are now around because I wanted to go back to that. And then one of us could go, oh, that animal's fine, no thanks. So done, gone, no pinging, no biocode, no nothing. And the other one of us could have symptoms for days if we're upset. So we all don't react to situations the same way. So we can get kind of pinged the different ways. Yeah, it's interesting. And again, put your issue in there. I'll try to relate the program to it. I'll see what we can get done during the show. Hopefully I'm explaining enough, feeling extra emotional, sensitive, wondering if they're mine or others. Right. And sometimes it can be other stuff, right? So first of all, ask, is it my stuff? Right? And if it's someone else's, shield, let's just do a quick one right here for you, Carol. I just want to open a coning of kind of a protective bubble around everybody in the show and everybody on the show in the future. I'm just going to invite Carol into our question. Where'd you go? Are you running a biocode? No, not yet. So you actually, so this is interesting. You're not running a biocode with that one yet, just on a quick test. But now that you know you're being emotionally sensitive, do you feel like you're dealing with that and not letting it kind of get to you? I guess what you can really say is don't let it get to you. as simple as that, because when it does, you can run a program. And again, I'm going to tell you these programs are run so that, say, like the lung program, like a death right. So if you have a death right, the lung is actually going to build tissue because it's trying to make your lungs stronger. Now, once you resolve the issue, the tissue will break down. So it's a whole really cool cycle. And I wish I would have put it up on my, maybe I can put it in the chat later. It's a really cool cycle that you go through. A shock, I'm not sure I know if I could say what a shock feels like, except that it's totally unexpected. Ascension symptoms are going to come on because there's energies you're taking on, even you could even take on somebody's, energies and that sort of thing. But a shock is something you totally don't expect at a drop of a hat. You can't prepare for it. You can't do anything about it because it's something that's happening in your world. Yes, fight or flight. It's something happening in your world that just shows up. So these programs were put there to actually go really fast. They were meant to kind of ping and let's flee and we're done. Hopefully we get away. Fight or flight. Hopefully we get away. If we don't, well, that's all too. But hopefully we get away, and then you calm down and go, okay, I'm good now. So there's different programs. Animals have them. Your pets have them. So that, again, is why it's another really important issue on how you talk to people, how you go about dealing with people, because you could put them into running a biocode if you, say something that, I don't want to say scares them or puts them into an issue that totally shocks them. So we're not really that sensitive. We do pretty good, right? We learn. But we do run these programs when we start thinking about them or pontificating about something that is, really getting a mental. They're low-level programs. They're meant to run and leave. But again, I'm going to say this just so you can extrapolate here. They either gain tissue. If you resolve them, they release tissue. Other programs, actually, my spleen program, I had lost tissue. That's when you're super tired, and then it's gaining back. So once I realized and went through this, I went, oh, okay, out of my fear program, because now I know what's running, what's happening, the symptoms match up exactly, and now I know. So when you have symptoms, it takes away the fear of disease. Not saying that sometimes the biocodes, especially if it's something brand new and you get rid of it, it happens all at once. If it's something older, like what happened to me a month ago or so, then it could be an old program that runs more intensely. So sometimes if you're feeling something very intense, that could be resolving something that came up in the past, and you're resolving it or bringing it up again and maybe going through the hanging healing. The other thing about the Ancient Biocodes, if you have a symptom, I'm just going to show that. If you have a symptom that seems to constantly come back, it's gone and then it comes back, and it's gone and it comes back. That's called a hanging healing within the biocodes. And yes, and loss of function is the third one. There's three basic things. Thanks, Kim. There's basically three basic ways that the programs run. You gain cells and then lose them. You lose them and then gain them, or you lose function of an issue. Kind of like eyesight, I think. Like eyesight is a program. Hearing is a program. It's really interesting to see the cause and effect of that. So I think the loss of function would be like eyesight, hearing, things like that. But you can actually run the program through if you want to work on it. So yes, light and love, keeping yourself grounded, keeping yourself out of drama, or not internalizing the drama. See what's outside of you, and if it's something that really affects you, I'm not say try and work through it like psychotherapy or anything, but it's totally interesting. Okay, rheumatoid arthritis. I'll put the arthritis program in. I should have probably bought all my charts and looked it up. Rheumatoid arthritis. And this is where it gets into genetics. Sometimes that can affect, but not in the way, if you look at it in terms of a biocode, it's not in the way that we were told, oh, my mom had it, so I'll get it, so it's genetic or whatever. You may get it because your mom did, because of the same types of thought patterns you have, but not because it's genetic. Rheumatoid arthritis, I'll try and put later on the link to arthritis underneath, so you can start to understand what rheumatoid arthritis is and how you can work through it. Again, I will put the links to the interviews with Andy and I. I think she probably relates to arthritis in different ways. Really look at them, because I still get frightened. I know this, and my parents both died of lung issues. And when I got the lung rails, I thought, oh my gosh, and it's a death fright. I don't know if I was frightened because I knew my parents had died of, in the end of things like that, or if because I got so afraid that I didn't know how to get rid of it, and it was really railing. I mean, I almost brought myself to the ER, and I kind of never, I never do that, probably to a fault. Not to say that you shouldn't if you are feeling, and again, don't feel bad about taking yourself to see a doctor. Make sure you stay out of fear about what they may say, because it can be a totally different issue. It can be a program that you can resolve. But if you feel there's something obstructed, or because the growth that might be growing, if the program goes far enough, then yes, and there might be an obstruction or something like that, totally different. But when you resolve the program, then usually it releases itself. So it's really interesting when you think of, the most common disease that we're all afraid of, and many people, pass from. Really interesting just to look at in terms of cell growth and cell loss, and resolving that program to lose those cells as well. We all have cell growth in our body, and sometimes they're found just when the growth is actually dissipating. So just going to say that too. Andy has much more information on that, Andy Lockmears. And I'll put all the links to the different interviews that we've done. They explain a little bit. Leanne, where do we? Oh yeah, you're not getting any. You don't have any. You were the arthritis, right? Yeah. So yeah, take a look at this then. Now's the time. Absolute information. Knowledge is key. Understanding that is key, and keep yourself out of it. Easier said than done by someone else, but you can take a look at information that's out there so that you can look at it in a different way. My mom had arthritis too, and I was always really afraid of that. She also had a pain in her shoulder every other day, and now I look at it. They told her she was crazy. They put her on drugs. They told her she was absolutely just loony. She didn't have a pain. There was nothing there. And when you look at shoulder pain, it's interesting to look at it in the BioCodes now. It was a symptom that was a hanging healing that kept coming back every other day. She was getting pinged. You can have things come back every month, every season. Allergies. You are not allergic. I am going to say this. You are not allergic to foods too. You are not allergic to the food, the pollen. You happen to have, in terms of the BioCodes, you had something happen, some kind of shock happen when pollen was around, when the food was around. You can work through that and not have allergies anymore. I've seen it, done it, know people. So it's a different look at that. It frees you from a different look. It looks at it in different symptoms, and shows you where you can actually find where in the brain and what organ is affected and what the symptoms are. It's actually rock solid bioscience. What was that? There was another thing I was going to say. Oh yeah, and it also depends. Really interesting, which I still haven't. I have to look every time. If you are right-handed, now don't quote me on this because it's laterality. If you were right-handed, and I always get this backwards and I don't have it in front of me, but it has to do with, if it's right-handed, it's your like kids or your job. If it's there's different laterality, so you can actually find clues to whether it was, because family, right? They're all around. We ping each other all the time. Either work through it or don't, or hold in issues. But so you can actually tell by the clues of your symptoms, and whether you're right-handed or left-handed, and where the symptom presents itself, over where what type of situation might have started it. So it's really interesting to me anyway, obviously. And I've been working with Andy Lockmere for a number of years, and we're finally getting together. I'm going to get to meet her in person. We just did a virtual retreat last weekend. I'll send you the link. We actually still have the really kind of half price retreat price until tomorrow. I think we're going to extend it a couple days because people are trying to figure out their travel. Yeah, I call them the Ancient Biocodes. And I actually have an energetic program. After learning these, I actually created an energetic program that I did on a telesummit with the Ancient Biocodes. So kind of going at this, they are very science-based. They are very, the pure GNM is very super science. But if you, like energy medicine, there's a lot of us who kind of look at it and go, okay, so if I know more information now, what can I intend with my energy work to get through that belief, get through that symptom, regrow the cells in my spleen quicker, and reduce the biocode. So that's the way I work with it as well in terms of energy medicine. So I'll go back through the chat. I know this was a quickie on that. Again, I'll just say real briefly that Ascension symptoms, right, they come from energies. And other things as well. They can, if you get an Ascension symptom or are totally afraid about what you're feeling, it could turn into a biocode. But the biocode are the ancient programs. There's about 30 of them. Animals have them. We have them. In us, they just tend to, we end up running them longer and don't resolve them because our life is kind of complicated sometimes, right? It's not just an animal who sees danger or not. We kind of complicate things. So these are something that everybody really needs to know about. There's a new website going up pretty soon that I'll announce as well. Really, really informative. It's going to be really informative. I'll put codes or links in the chat so you can take a look at really understanding the biocodes more. And if you have symptoms in there, I'll discuss a little bit on whether it is a, we'll do Ascension symptom, biocode, or other, okay? Because they're not all Ascension symptoms, right? And they're not all biocodes. But if they're a biocode, we can, I'll try and put up a few of the programs. I think skin was one, arthritis is one. I think there were some minor aches and pains there, which may or may not be a biocode running. Real interesting, okay? So just about out of time. If this is actually being taped in the beginning of March 2019, if you guys haven't realized yet, the Akashic Academy is doing shows and then doing reruns. So, and they do have playlists if you're on the Akashic Academy site. So you can find shows, you can look at reruns, replays, and the live folks as well. So I hope you enjoyed the really brief intro. I hope you look in the chat box. And if this is on YouTube, in the comments below to links to understand your ancient biocodes better. Just, yeah, love each other, right? Learn to love each other, pass things through, and try not to ping anybody's biocode, right? Different way of looking at that. Okay, yeah, Kathy, Akashic Academy updates your sessions had complications earlier, had to record the show and are trying to post it right after yours. So, okay, just heard from Teresa Warren. So if you want to stay tuned afterwards, they will be trying to post their show as well. Yeah, a lot of wonderful changes, a lot of wonderful shows on the Akashic Academy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And actually, if you're watching live, you will see me Mondays at 6 o'clock p.m. now. Tomorrow, there will probably be a rerun. Mondays at 6 p.m. I'm doing my new, I've been here a year time change so I can catch other folks and say hello. So Monday at 6 p.m. and then Sundays at 1 will actually be different replays of mine. So thank you all. I'll try and get you in the comments. If you don't see that I did, then just kind of ping me in the comment again, and see you later. Bye all. Okay, bye-bye.